So go ahead and unmute yourself and let us know where you're zooming in from. We'd love to know.
Beverly, Washington, Santa Monica, California, USA. 1 coin.
Andy Zahoran, Sun City, Arizona. Hi, everybody. Hi, Tom.
Hey, AZ.
Bruce Erickson, Santa Barbara, California.
Welcome, Bruce.
Mark Albert, Weir, South Carolina.
Bob and Pam, Santa Barbara.
Carol from Toronto, Canada.
Deanna Notes Long, Bellevue, Washington.
Clinton Mullen, Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah, man. Love that.
Bishop from San Diego, California. Woohoo!
Hi, Michael Ray. Are you there?
Yeah, Michael Ray, San Antonio, Texas. What's up, Mr. Tom and Andy? What's happening, y'all?
All right, Michael. Catherine from Dallas, Texas. Yeehaw! Hold your horses.
Tatiana from Orlando.
Orlando, welcome.
Margie Scott in Connecticut.
Mississippi.
Go ahead, Brad.
Just saying hi. I'm from Long Beach, Mississippi.
Welcome. Long Beach, Mississippi. I hadn't heard that one before.
Bridget Slevin, Peoria, Illinois.
I didn't know there was a Long Beach, Mississippi. Wow.
I didn't either. No. John, where are you from?
Cleotis Ingram.
I'm from Long Beach, California. Oh. This is Tom Murray from Kansas City, the middle of the map, USA, America's heartland. Yes, sir.
Don't forget to mute yourself out if you're tickling each other, okay?
Doc and Kate from Arkansas.
Sorry.
Angela Posto, Utah. Good evening, everyone.
Angela.
Hey, Tom, what's up? This is Brian from South Carolina.
Hi, what's going on, buddy? Great to have you online.
Patrick, Grand Canyon State. Tom and Bobby, let's bring in the new year.
Let's do it.
There's Floyd and Vicky over here in East Texas, Lake of the Pines.
Welcome.
Jeff Walling from Denver, Colorado.
Welcome, Jeff.
Lena Graham, Oklahoma. Go Sooners.
Welcome.
Eric McMurrain, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Go Cowboys.
Yeah, 13-2.
Jack in New Jersey. Go Pats.
Hi.
And Sandy and John, Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia, and I'm just going to say go 1 coin.
Yeah, go 1 coin. There you go. Hey, don't forget to help out, folks. You're killing us. Stop it. There we go. Thanks. Found you. Be a professional muter. Go ahead, Shannon.
Hello, can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Who's this?
This is Lamar Parker from Durham, North Carolina.
Lamar Parker, welcome.
Thanks.
This is JP from Santa Barbara, California.
Welcome, JP. Great to have you online.
All right.
It's one of our emerald.
Team leader.
Woohoo! There we go.
Dennis from Venice
This
here.
is Cleo.
Dennis from Venice, and who else?
Hey. Jay.
All right, awesome.
Hello.
I'm gonna get everybody muted out here.
From the country of Canada.
Welcome. All right, everyone, we got everybody muted out there, and I'm gonna bring up our superstar co-star tonight, Sagar. What's happening, buddy? How are you doing?
I'm good, Tommy. I'm good. Just came from a great in-home with Joe. It was dynamite. I said, I got to leave. I got to go with my other partner in Atlanta and do my thing, and fixing to go on a little family vacation to the Caribbean. So I'm excited for 2017. I've got some grandiose goals boy, my throat is really hurting. Wow. I've got some great goals for 2016-17. I'm excited to share some tremendous value with everybody. This is a great year we've got going, guys. And, I think, one of the things that we're all fortunate of is to have some good mentorship and good coaching.
Absolutely. We're going to be talking about that tonight. So awesome, everybody online. If this is your first time joining us, this will be an unusual meeting for you in that we're actually doing a training. We talk about in our business becoming a VC, and we're not talking about becoming a venture capitalist. We're talking about becoming a value creator. And so I would tell all of you, if you put a job title on your card and put VC on there, a lot of people ask you what that is. And when you talk about value creation, there's just a lot of people right now around the world that need value in their lives. I want you to know that in the chat, I have posted the training document that we're going to be covering. So there's a Google document in chat right now. And if somebody is able to click on that and look at it and let me know that you can see it, just give me a thumbs up that it's working properly. I'd appreciate it because I want you all to okay, thank you, Margie. But our goal tonight is this is what we call our family of digital currency around the world. And we are excited to be here tonight because we're going to be doing a training on the miracle of success. And I've asked Bobby to join me tonight because he and I, we're kind of running the same businesses, the same circles. We've had a lot of training, in working with sales organizations, doing a lot of sales. And we just want to kind of bring you our best tonight and give you the background behind, the miracle of success and where it came from. But again, if this is your first time, this will be an unusual one. We don't always do this, but because it's the end of the year, we wanted to give you 2 value trainings. And the first value training is called the Miracle of Success, which is a success strategy that I developed going through a very difficult time. And I'll share that story with you tonight. It's a difficult story to share, but I want you to know that it doesn't matter who you are or what you've been through. There's no reason why you can't succeed in what we're doing. There's the only thing holding you back in this business or in your life are the contracts that you have signed that you agreed to. And a lot of times we sign contracts that ultimately hold us back. And so I want to just kind of give you a setup. I'm going to introduce Bobby and I'm going to try and save as many words as I can for him because I know his throat's killing him. But I'm going to give an introduction of our backgrounds. And I will say that, we've both been in the financial services business, but we'll spare you the success stories and everything. The one thing I know about Bobby is that he's a driven, determined dreamer. I am too. I know that he works very, very hard. I know that he has a lot of energy. I know that he has a lot of passion. These are things that we share in common. I also recognize that he's pretty fearless, when it comes to getting out there online and sharing, his information and what this is all about. He likes being on the cutting edge just like I do. We're both pioneers. We're just so excited to be here to be able to share information with you all that has helped us come out. And I shared the outline, with Bobby earlier today, and I just said, hey, would you mind joining me on this training tonight? Because I know you've got a lot of value to bring to the table and some insight, and I think it's just going to be very, very exciting. But I can tell you that creating miracles is one thing that I totally believe in. I think the person who invented penicillin created a miracle. I think the person, who's helped, help cure, famine, for people that have created the mosquito nets have created miracles. I mean, people who've invented technology that draws water out of the ground in Africa in areas where it doesn't look like there would be water, they have created miracles. And I don't know how you put a definition on a miracle, but a miracle is when you affect people in a very positive way and you eliminate pain and you eliminate violence and you eliminate sickness and you eliminate hardships. I don't know what kind of miracles that you all want to create in your life, but the types of miracles that I want to create in my life are the ones where I help people create wealth so that they can go help others. And certainly there's miracles in knowledge, there's miracles in words, there's miracles in helping people reach success maybe when they didn't think they could. There's miracles in mentorship. There's miracles in inner awareness. There's miracles in finding your purpose. There's miracles everywhere. And I tell everybody, if you can tell me how my heart beats and doesn't stop, and whenever it decides to stop, that's God's plan. If you can tell me how the heart works, you're an amazing person. You know, if you can tell me where the energy comes that makes my heart beat, you're an amazing person. So I tell everybody, let's just get one thing in agreement right off the bat. We are all miracles. I mean, we are walking miracles. I mean, there's not a doctor on earth that can explain our human body in its fullest, and we are walking miracles. And if you can agree with me on that, that's a good starting point for all of us to understand that you have the ability to create miracles within you because you are one. And I know that a lot of people need to create miracles in 2017. And I'm just excited to be here with Bobby, but I'll bring up Bobby for a second. And I know, Bobby, you've had a chance to look over the outline and just give you a few words as we kick this thing off. And what are your expectations for this training, and what do you hope to accomplish with it with everybody on here? We've got over 100 people on here right now that are eager to hear what we have to talk about tonight.
When you sent this to me earlier today, I first looked at it, I says, wow, this is absolutely dynamite. But before I elaborate, Tom, let me say this, everyone. I like calling him Tommy, if you don't mind. Tommy, you used a word earlier, and I want to go back to that word, and the word is value. And I think there are a lot of people on this Zoomcast right now that do not realize or underestimate the amount of value you bring to the marketplace. Many years ago, back in 1996, I joined a coaching program in Canada. For 15 years, I stayed there. And one of the things that I learned that I still embody today is how much value can I bring to the marketplace? How much value, hence, the broadcast I did today, the broadcast and so on. But I want everybody to realize that the value that you could bring to the marketplace, to other people's lives, don't underestimate that. That is a big deal. And, you know, there a lot of times, many of you feel that you can't affect other people's lives, whether it's from a coaching standpoint, whether it's from a value creation standpoint. But that word, those two words, value creation, we bring so much value to the marketplace. Most people don't realize it. Most of you on this Zoomcast don't realize how much value you could bring to an individual's life. Don't underestimate that. Tom, relevant to the document earlier, I went through it about 10 times. And I pulled over on the side of the road as I was driving to the in-home, and I looked at it again. This thing is spot on. It's just absolutely incredible. Can I touch on a few things?
Hey, man, it's open forum between you and me. Let's rock and roll.
When I looked at the first one, mentor, and whether we call it a mentor or a coach, I think that's one of the things that we underestimate. For those of you that said Cowboys and other teams, well, I bleed blue, and we lost on Sunday, but we're in the playoffs. Yay. They have coaches. They have mentors. Each and every one of those athletes. And my life, and I get emotional from this, my life grew tremendously once I started to have coaches and mentors in my life. And it started in 1991, and I've never looked back. And because, whether it's a coach that I could talk to, or whether it's a coach that I listen to, or whether it's a coach that I paid a lot of money for, that's one of the things that helped me 10 times my income over a period of time. And when Tommy writes here, mentors provide a map for your journey, we need mentors. We need mentors, and we need to understand that mentors, coaches. And I know there are people from all around the world right now, but one of the things that I learned about 30 years ago, so just excuse me for what I'm going to say. I don't remember who it was who said this, but they said, We need 3 things in life to be successful. You need to live in America. I'm just telling you what they said. You need to live in America. You need to have an opportunity. And you need to have a coach. You need to have a coach. And you know, what's interesting is, and I think about some of the things that happened to me way back when I joined the insurance and financial industry in 92 and 93, and I turned around to my sales manager and I said, who's making over $1 million a year? Did they write a book? I read all of their books. It shortened my learning curve dramatically. And Tommy, I'm happy that the first one is mentors because it's so critically important. And whether it's a mentor that you pay for, whether it's someone that you read their works or follow them, what that does is it's just short. And Tony always talks about this. Tony Robbins always talks about this. Go follow the path that others went before you. It just shortens everything very quickly.
Yep. Well, let me kick off real quick, and mentors is really what tonight is about. And tonight, and Bobby and I are going to be your mentors tonight. We're going to be your coaches, and we are going to provide you with a map that will be your mentor advisory panel. We want you to create a mentor advisory panel, and that is the first step of Miracle. We're going to talk about that. But before I delve into the 7 letters of Miracle, I do want to share with you ultimately where all of this came from, because there's a golden thread that I found that is, you know, that really, it went through every book that I ever read. I read over 400 books. And you're like, Tom, where do you find time to read 400 books? Well, let me tell you about that story. Back in 2004, actually in 2000, I raised $100 million during the 90s. And we invested in hundreds and hundreds of technology companies. And of course, you all know that the year 2000 was brutal for the technology industry. In fact, most funds went under. And, you know, I went through a state court battle on our fund, and we won that battle. And, you know, 4 years later, the feds came knocking on my door. And they had decided to give me a free plane ticket back from the Republic of Panama, where I was living a very good life and had recovered from the crash and was doing big things in real estate, and decided that I needed to face a 150 count indictment on financial fraud. And in fact, they gave me more charges on my indictment than Bernie Ebbers and Kenneth Lay and Jeff Skilling combined. And they were obviously sending me a message. And, you know, I remember coming back and sitting with the prosecutor and him looking me in the face, and he says, we know all your assets, here's your financials, sign this agreement for 8 years in prison, or we're going to give you 25 years to life. So that was my deal. That was the deal that was put on the table. And, you know, I think when you come off of out of society and you think that just can't happen, that just can't be the way the justice system works. And so I ended up fighting it for 18 months. And my lawyer came back to me and he said, Tom, they are minutes away from offering you a trial with a no plea deal, which means that with 150 counts, you will go to prison for 25 years to life. There's just no way around it. You've got money laundering charges on here. You've got bank fraud charges on here. You have a litany of things that they can convict you on just because you didn't do proper documentation. And I remember going up into the holding tank that night. I was by myself, and I remember laying on the floor, crying my eyes out, flat on the floor, going, God, I need help. I need a miracle. This is not in the plan, because I'm a born fighter. I'm Irish, you know, so I'm thinking I want to fight this, because I proved our state case. I proved that we did the right thing, and, you know, I felt like I was going to fight it. And, you know, I woke up the next day and a message just came to me. It said, Tom, you know, you're getting ready to go through a desert, and you might as well, you know, go sit under the Bodhi tree and get enlightened. You know, you might as well go pray and meditate and get some self-awareness, because God's sending you a message loud and clear. You're not getting out of here anytime soon. And I remember asking for that miracle, and that next morning I wrote down the miracle acronym, and I started jotting down some ideas, and I said, you know, if I get out of here, in a decent amount of time, I'm going to change my life. But to change my life, and I heard you say this on a training yesterday or today, Bobby, I can't remember when I was listening to you, you said Einstein's quote of, he said that many of the challenges that we face in life cannot be changed with the same thinking that created them. And I think he also said something about the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And I think I posted a question or a comment today in your training that said, until you start asking the right questions, you will continue to get the wrong answers. And I was asking the wrong questions, folks, in life. I was looking, you know, at a wicked drinking problem, even though I could raise $100 million and I was mock-free with my hair on fire. You know, I was going the wrong direction. And I think God woke me up and said, you know what, buddy? I've tried everything. I gave you cancer when you were 30. You survived that, and you still became hell on wheels. I put you through addiction programs and everything when you were in your 20s. I saved you from a half a dozen car accidents where you didn't die and you probably could have, and you just hadn't woken up, buddy. And he just said, I'm going to put you through a time that's going to test you mentally. It's going to test you physically. And, you know, hopefully you'll still have a family and you'll realize what's important to you when this is all done. And I remember I'd fought it for 18 months, and I remember going into the federal courthouse in this giant courtroom, and I'm sitting here going, I can't believe I'm here. I'm going in front of a federal judge who has authority over my life right now, and I'm going in with an open plea with I went in there to fight the charges with the judge. I was still fighting to the last minute. I was going to argue with the judge and tell them that I didn't do this. And I remember the judge hearing me talk for 15 minutes, I think my speech was. I went on for about 20 minutes. And finally, he looked at me and he said, Mr. McMurrain, I'm afraid you're breathing too much of your own exhaust. 8 years, thunk. And he hit the gavel. And I was just like, I couldn't believe it. And, you know, I think when people go through a tough time, you know, when I had cancer, you know, they said some people get cancer and they want to die. Some people get cancer and they worry themselves to death. And some people get cancer and they want to live. I remember when I got my cancer when I was 30, my daughter was born 2 days after that. And the 2 days after that, I went into chemotherapy for 9 months. Cancer had no chance, And I remember when I heard that gavel, I just said, you know what? I'm either going to make the most of this or I'm just going to lose my life. I knew if I got 25 years to life, there was no way I would do it. I would end my life. I mean, there was just no way I could to do that in my life. And it was one of those times where I was faced with a very, very, very difficult situation. Just like cancer. I compare it a lot to cancer. For those that have had cancer, it's a very lonely experience. It's something you go through on your own. It's very tough mentally. It's very lonely. And it's just something that you have to find a way to make it. And I got involved in the prisoner reentry program. I launched a prisoner reentry program called ITEA. Robert Kiyosaki sent us books. Scott Warren from Purpose Driven Life sent us books. We had the Viktor Frankl organization sent us books, A Man's Search for Meaning, the Sloan Brothers. I remember all their names. I remember all the people that helped me, going through that experience. I remember my wife buying me 5 books, a week. I was mowing through a book a day, and I was taking notes. And finally, she slowed me down. She says, just don't read them. She said, take notes on them and learn it and internalize it. And today I have a stack of notes that's this thick of all the books that I've read and all the notes that are in there. And as I went through that process, I met a gentleman who he said, what's the absolute source of power? And it was kind of one of those cone questions that doesn't really have an answer, and you go wild trying to find the answer, and you read every book, and I'd go back and I'd talk with them hours on end, and we'd discuss everything that I read all the 4 major books of all 4 major religions. I read the perennial philosophy. I mean, I delved into everything I could to really understand, what the ultimate source of power was. And it wasn't until I learned how to silence my mind in a Lakota Nippy where I was in a very deep solstice session with 7 rounds of rocks. And for those that know the Lakota tradition of the sweat lodge, it's brutal when you go through it. And they happen to have a Lakota lodge at one of the camps I was at. And it was there where I really discovered the power of silence. And that's where the miracle really came into play. It was something that just affected my life in a very positive way. And I was able to leave the gates and leave a shadow behind. As I tell everybody, for many years of my life, I was chasing a shadow. And I think a lot of people chase a shadow. And that shadow can be defined as, you know, an ego that's, you know, sucking up tons of alcohol and eating tons of food and, you know, chasing women and doing all the wrong things. That ego will lead you to nowhere. And it wasn't until I was able to silence my mind and really wrap my head around everything. That's what ultimately taught me what the ultimate source of power was the ability to silence my mind. And that's when the miracle really came into play for me. And when I left out of prison, folks, I was on a mission. I was on a mission. I acquired a website straight out of prison. We did an option to sell it. We sold it. We did real well on it. I got into a network marketing company. I put in 12,000 people in the first 100 days because of Google Hangout technology had just been released, and I figured out how to use it because of a great mentor by the name of Lisa Grossman. A lady who knows nothing about technology called me in the middle of the night. She goes, "Tom, this is up your alley. You have to see this technology." 100 days later, I put 12,000 people in a network marketing company using Google Hangouts. And, you know, just went on and just decided to create a successful business, coaching and teaching people online and inspiring people to follow a system of creating success. And that's where the protocol of prosperity came, because if I'm going to create a system, it's going to create a state of success. And if it works for me, I know it will work for you. I just run a lot of numbers through it, you know, and that's what I try and look for everybody else to do. So the miracle came after reading 400 books. And I told Bobby this today. I said, one book that was my aha moment, I read Pour Your Heart Into It by Howard Schultz, the founder of Starbucks. And after I read all those books, Howard Schultz's book was one of the last ones. And every single one of them, as I'm reading the book, I started writing M and I and R and A and C. And it had every single one of the tactics in the book. And I said, that's the magic thread. That's the golden thread that will help anybody become successful, is if they follow these 7 steps and really master them. And so I hope I didn't draw it out too long, but it was a time in my life, folks, that it was a desert, but it was the greatest thing that ever happened to me. And I'm not ashamed to talk about it. I've spoken to corporate groups on white-collar crime. 500 men graduated. I see several of them on my Facebook pages that are working. Some of them are owning car dealerships now. Some of the guys that graduated through our 8-class program, they succeeded in a very, very big way. And so that 63 months of my life was a very difficult time, but at the end of the day, I wouldn't have life without it today. And you know, I have some people that judge me online about it, and they criticize me for it. But I'll tell you one thing, for those that have spent the night at my house and you've met my family, you know how respectful my kids are and how much my wife loves me and my whole family and everything that we've recovered from. I'm a big believer in second chances. And I've just learned that you have no place in life judging anybody. I think it's a huge mistake for anybody to do that. And I want you to know that you'll never catch me judging people. I look for people to succeed. I want people to succeed. I can't read what's on your heart. I don't know if you've got dreams in you. I don't know if you've got success in you. But I hope I can inspire you through this training with Bobby today to help you become successful in 2017. And we're going to share 7 tactics with you that are built around the acronym MIRACLE, that hopefully it will change your life, and hopefully something tonight will change your life. So keep an open mind and think about everything we say, jot down the principles, and think about how these different principles have touched you in your lives. All of you have been touched by these principles throughout your life. You may not have taken advantage of them. You may not have leveraged them as much as you should have, but understand that these principles will help you create miracles in 2017. And I just want to thank you for your time. I'm honored that over 115 people are on here tonight that want to hear about the miracle of success, because that tells me, you know, with 115 people, Bobby, you know what we can do? We can create an army of hundreds of thousands of people, and I'm excited about that. So, Bobby, you kicked off Miracle, and I just want to say that only thing I want to add to Miracle is that a MAP is a mentor advisory panel, and I believe that all of us, you know, we can have mentors in network marketing, we can have mentors in our spiritual life, we can have mentors at the gym, we can have mentors in our diet, we can have mentors in our marriage counselor. I mean, I've seen people that have great relationships, and I'm like, dude, what's the secret to your success in your marriage? And whatever they share with me, you know, I'm like, you know, I write it down. I'm like, okay, that was a mentoring moment. And then I also want to mention that mentors can be dead, they can be alive, they can be in book format. You can find mentors on TV shows. You may just hear a nonfiction or fictitious character say something that actually touches you and changes your life. But as we begin with the miracle of success, as Bobby kicked it off, M is mentors. You need a mentor advisory panel. The acronym is a MAP. And I also want to mention that each one of these has a memory icon, something to help you remember it. And a map, of course, a rolled up map that you lay out on your ship when you're out on your boat to figure out where you're going. Every journey begins with a map. And I will tell you, if you get into the network marketing business, one of the best things you could do is find 5 of the most successful people in your company and ask them, what are you doing that's working? What are the things that you would recommend that I do? And shut up and listen to them, because they'll give you the fastest point from A to Z that you'll ever get simply by listening to people that are doing it. Bobby, all yours.
You made me more emotional. Some story, you really did. Wow. Tommy, you know what? I will, relevant, staying on the mentor topic, I don't, you know, it's very difficult for me talking about myself. I've always had that challenge. Since we're being very transparent here tonight. I don't think I would have accomplished the things I've accomplished in my life without having all of the mentors that I've had. And I've had many, many mentors. And, you know, my father always said growing up, read, 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 read. And I never did. I didn't start reading until I was like 28 or 29. And I'm proud of my libraries that I have in our home here. But if it wasn't for all of the mentors, I wouldn't have accomplished the things that I accomplished in my life. But Tommy, you mentioned a word too that I mentioned this morning, and that word is silence. I think more than ever in today's society, in the way we live and how we live, it's probably more important today to have that silence. And I work at it every day, every morning, during my miracle morning. Great book, by the way. And that silence is just so important. We need to have this clear in order to think, and that's so important. The other thing, too, is I'm just going to lead into that next one, Tommy. The inner awareness leads to integrity of life. And I thought about that. You know, I posted something the other day in that we have to understand how we talk to ourselves, and not only understand how we communicate with ourselves, but also understand how we communicate with the rest of the world. I'm so conscious of listening to people throughout the day, and listening to, you know, their, you know, just the conversations that they have. That inner awareness, this was a big one for me, Tommy, over probably the last 4 years. The last 4 years of my life, this really became a big part of, I believe, how I've changed. And maybe you might want to ask my wife about that too. That comes from that inner awareness, came from a lot of different aspects. but having that inner awareness and that integrity was just a game changer for me.
Yeah. Bobby, the inner awareness begins with, we got to have mirrors in our life. And mirrors can come from books. When you read a book, it's kind of like I read a book called Struggling with Demons, and it was by Manfred Reeves, and it was about bipolar people and people that struggle with these things. And there was this chapter that was so spot on with me. I mean, I literally cried at the end of the chapter. I called my dad, who I had had a very estranged relationship, and I said, I want you to know I just read a chapter in a book that defined my life. And it really helped. It's like when you read and you get inner awareness, Stephen Covey used to talk about true north bearings. And true north on a compass is true north. It's like it's not 1 degree off. It's not 2 degrees off. It is true north. It's as north as you can possibly go. And when you have bearings set in your life, I mean, I was probably on true northeast. I wasn't about to get to my destination. I wasn't 8 degrees off. I was about 45 degrees off. But, I think when you think about inner awareness, the memory icon is, of course, the compass. And how many of y'all have thought about a compass inside of you? How many of y'all have said, am I heading the right direction? You remember that quote I said today, until you start asking the right questions, you're going to continue to get the wrong answers? How many of you have a compass inside of you? How many of you understand that you're heading true north? Or are you heading on the directions that your mother told you? Your mother might have told you, you'll never be successful. Just find a rich husband. Or how many of your dads told you, you'll never be as rich as I am, don't even try? Or how many of them told you, you'll never hit the ball as far? I mean, I hate to say it, but there's a lot of people in our lives that bring sickness into our lives. They mess up our compass, and we realize that our compass we've got all these little magnets around our body that we need to start pulling off because they're screwing up our compass. But inner awareness, I remember when I originally wrote the chapter on the Miracle of Success book, and it was something I never published. I just kept it in my own personal book. I may publish it one day. But the idea behind it was, it started with integrity leads to success. But then I questioned it. I said, what leads to integrity? And I just believe that if you don't have inner awareness, you're not going to have integrity. And, inner awareness begins with what's my strengths and my weaknesses. What's my little voice telling me when I want to go do things, and I really found that inner awareness, when I was able to silence my mind through meditation and through the Lakota Sweat Lodge ceremonies, I was able to bring the waves of my ocean, of my mind, back to the surface and create a very clean surface. Like my mind was totally relaxed. And that's when you actually communicate with your soul or God or whatever you want to call it. That's where you can actually have a real conversation with your spirit, or whatever you want to call it. And I just tell people that inner awareness is so important. And one of the things that I do, Bobby, that I urge everyone to do, and I don't care if you listen to a 15-minute recording or you read a chapter a day. It takes me 15 minutes to read a chapter a day. If I don't do that, I watch a video. I watched several videos on a YouTube Mastery today. That was part of my education today. But every day, if every single one of you will commit one 15-minute period to education every day in 2017, you will see your life transform. Because you know what that is? It's the equivalent of reading 33 books a year. And most people don't even read a book after they leave high school.
Yep.
Can you imagine adding 33 books? Can you imagine how much farther ahead mentally you will be than the rest of your friends? You start exercising your brain. Your brain's a muscle, man. It just becomes more creative. It becomes more strong. And you can actually use that brain to go create miracles in your life. And so inner awareness begins, folks, with looking at books. When you read Howard Schultz's book, Pour Your Heart Into It, you understand the struggles he went through to build Starbucks. When you read Ray Kroc's book, Grinding It Out, and you see the struggles that he went to build McDonald's. That's a great book, wasn't it?
Tommy, I read that book in I read that book in 2006 out east. It inspired me so much that I franchised my company.
Yep.
franchise my company, number one. But Tom, you mentioned a word. I just want to go back to it before we leave this topic. Everybody, Tom mentioned a word called the mirror. I sit in front of that mirror or stand in that mirror every morning for 10 minutes, and I look at myself for 10 minutes. I say certain things, but you want to talk about inner awareness. Wow. And Tom, that was the part that I was saying earlier, that was one of the things that I started doing a year or so ago. And that inner awareness, who am I looking at? You know, where do I want to go? And really asking the right questions. That was one thing that affected my life beyond words. Beyond words. The other thing too is the other day I saw a video. It was on TED Talks or something, and this one guy was talking about his life, and what changed his life was he committed to learning and studying his craft 1 hour a day. 1 hour a day. And he just went through the things that he accomplished, which was mind-boggling. You know, I mean, I can't imagine my life not being in this room of personal development. I can't imagine it. And I often think to myself, Bobby, are you going to be like this at 80? Are you going to be like this at 85 and 90? You know what? Yeah, I probably will be, because I don't know anything else at this point. Because when we were in, Tom just mentioned the brain is a muscle. And when you train it so, like those men that left that camp, that prison, they came out and they were very successful. That's what they knew. That's what they knew. The fifth graders don't talk to the fourth graders. The sixth graders don't talk to the fifth graders because they grew. And that's the biggest thing that I love about this business, is the personal growth.
It's amazing, you know, when you think about, I remember my dad, he would have us listen to all the Nightingale Conant videos when we went to the lake place during the summertime and springtime. And I remember listening to Jim Rohn and Brian Tracy and, you know, Zig Ziglar and just all Tom Hopkins. I mean,
my goodness.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? And I remember sitting at a conference, at a Tom Hopkins conference, and I was sitting there by myself at lunch, and all I remember hearing this voice go, "Excuse me, young man, can I sit with you?" And I looked up, and it was Tom Hopkins, and here I'm a 19-year-old kid, and Tom Hopkins sat down and had lunch with me, and I was like, "You have no idea. This is so weird. My dad made me listen to your tapes when we were driving to the lake place, and here I am at your conference today." But inner awareness leads to integrity, folks. If you don't have inner awareness, you won't have outer awareness. You won't have awareness of how to create wealth. And I would tell you some great questions that come to mind is, here's one question: how can I create inner awareness? What books can I read to create inner awareness? And you know what happens? You'll be walking by a Borders bookstore, and you'll see a book will pop out and scream at you and say, "Read me." And when you see that, you pick up that book and you go buy it and you read it. But one chapter a day, folks, will change your life, and it will create inner awareness. And I'm not talking about reading romance novels or anything like that. I'm talking about reading books that help you identify how to best maximize your mentors, how to gain greater inner awareness. But remember, a compass is the memory icon for inner awareness. Bobby and I want every single one of you to gain inner awareness, and we want every single one of you to go get a compass. And by the way, next time you're at an antique store, when you think about it, I would like all of you to think about, maybe if you're at the flea market and you see an old antique map and maybe it's $5, I want you to pick it up and I want you to buy it. And I want you to pick up a compass sometime. If you're at, you know, at a swap meet or something like that, and you see an old brass compass that fits in your pocket and it's $2, I want you to pick it up. Because that brass compass, that mnemonic, that memory icon, if you have it on your desk, I have tons of mnemonics that are behind me. I mean, you see my Chinooka Wakan back there. I've got, man, I got a whole desk full of mnemonics that sit behind me. And everything I talk about when I'm out and about, I try and find, it doesn't have to be expensive either. I mean, I buy inexpensive items and I just put them on my table behind me, but it's my table of collectibles of things that create memory. And when I hold them in my hand, I remember the lesson. And it's pretty cool. So I'll share my back table with y'all sometime. It's pretty fun. It's got some great stuff on it. But it's very cool. And yeah, I mean, if you're a Christian, you ask the Holy Spirit or whatever your faith is. I know everybody comes from different faiths, and after reading the perennial philosophy, and I'm fine with people pursuing their own faiths. I mean, that's something that is we all get judged at the end, and that I guess that's where we go to. But I'm a big believer that we create peace on earth. I'm a big believer that we create heaven on earth, but I'm also a big believer we can create hell on earth as well. And I think that all of us in our actions as we create miracles, our desires to create wealth, our desires to create time freedom, our desires to help other people. Bottom line is you got to have a good heart and you got to have good inner awareness to be able to accomplish those lessons. And so, Bobby, let's move on to the next one. We'll talk about re-engaging your purpose. And I can honestly say that right now I probably haven't found my ultimate purpose. Somewhere is on this sailboat. For some reason I'm led to want to take a catamaran or a trimaran around the world. I'll probably find my purpose working with children or working with business people around the world and doing training or building a blog. I bought the domains the other day, Bobby. I bought sailpreneur.com. Sailpreneur.com I thought was a pretty cool one, but maybe creating a blog and showing people how they can live their dreams and going to all these villages and in Bali and Indonesia and just all over the place and just saying, hey, I'm here to coach you and help you, show you bankless banking, how you can start selling your wares around the world. I don't know, but re-engage your purpose. They say when you think of the memory icon, you think of a gear shift. You're either in forward, you're in neutral, or you're in reverse. Folks, there's only 3 options. I mean, you're either doing nothing, you're just in idle, or you're going backwards and you're not pursuing your purpose. But right now, a good question to ask, Bobby, if I were to ask you, I say, Bobby, are you engaged in your purpose? Are you re-engaged in a purpose? What mode is your gear shift in right now? Are you in forward? Are you in neutral? Are you in reverse?
So I had an epiphany about 6 years ago. And 6 years ago, it occurred to me what my purpose is. Why am I here? Why did the guy above put me on this earth? And I know what my purpose is very deep inside. And sometimes it fades away and sometimes it comes in, but I know what it is. And the other day, I had another, I don't want to say a wake-up call, but it was another aha moment. And you'll see more of that after, once I get back. And that purpose and my purpose, and this is why I'm here now, is to lead, train, and inspire people. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm put here. Tom, you and I have a lot of commonality. I'm a good sailor, by the way, and I love to drive cars fast. So when you said gear shift, baby, I'm in third gear, and the torque is high, and I'm moving forward. And so the other day, I'm thinking, I don't know where I was, but it occurred to me, and I said to myself, Bobby, you have so much value. You have so much value to share with people. You've been in this room of, and you know what? This is that inner awareness and sometimes the not knowing of oneself. And I said to myself, you've been in this room. You stepped into it 30 years ago, 29 years ago. In this, and all of the things you've read and you've studied and the coaching, it's amazing what you could share with people. So, hence what I did this morning, hence what I will do a lot more in the new year. I've got plans set and so on and so forth. So I'm in forward, Tom. I'm in forward gear. I was put here to inspire people, and I've been hearing it so much from the world telling me that. That's why I'm here. to lead, train, and inspire people to their greater good. That's my purpose.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people say that, oh, you know, Tom, when I have the money, I'll pursue my purpose, or when I have...
never happens.
Yeah, never. Oh, I want to go start a nonprofit, and I don't have any money to start a nonprofit. And I just tell people, I say, you know, if you can find your purpose, if you find something that, you know, makes you feel good. I think the saying is, if you had all the money in the world, what would you do today, every day? What would you go do? And I honestly believe I'd be out on the water fishing and going to these different villages and finding ways to create enterprises and help lift people up and coach and do the same thing. So I think that every single one of you, you might say, I'm not a mission kind of person. Well, you might need some, but you might need some deeper self-awareness, because I can't believe that anybody that's going to generate massive success is not a mission-oriented person, or has a purpose, or they're re-engaged. So memory icon, of course, if you've been on a boat, they have two throttles. One throttle is the gas throttle, and the other throttle is it puts it in forward, reverse, or neutral. And so the first part of the throttle that we're talking about, re-engaging your purpose, of course, we're talking about the gear shift. So the question that I have for you tonight is, are you in forward, are you in neutral, or are you in reverse? And if you're in neutral and if you're in reverse, why are you there, and what can you do to change it? And I think those are the questions that you have to ask yourself. And by the way, it's really good to write these compelling questions down, and it's really good for you to say them out loud, because, man, what comes out of your mouth and through your ears activates your brain. It's a miraculous device. They say if you genuinely want an answer to a problem, all you have to do is verbalize it, and your brain will seek out that answer, and it will help you find it. And every single one of you have the same power. I mean, what are we using, like 3% of our brain, or 5%? I don't even know what it is, but it's like something ridiculous. But forward motion only. That's right, Deanna. That's fantastic. So, Bobby, let's jump into the next one. So that's re-engage your purpose. Everyone, I tell you, your purpose, like my purpose right now, is to educate people on blockchain-based technology. I don't think that's my overall large goal, but it definitely is integrated with my life's purpose of teaching. How many of you all would like to be 7-figure-a-year teachers? Wouldn't that be cool? You go out and teach people the coolest things in the world, show them how to create wealth. How many of y'all would like to be a teacher of financial independence? How many of y'all would like to be a teacher of showing how to eliminate famine, or using blockchain-based technology to disrupt an industry that's been taking advantage of people and ripping people off? How many of y'all have the desire to do something great? And if you don't have the desire to do something great, why the hell not? You know, you were put on this earth to do great things, and the only thing holding you back from doing great things, the only thing holding you back from realizing your purpose, is the contracts that you have signed with your own beliefs. And I would just tell you, if you haven't read The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, probably one of the greatest books on earth, but he talks about making sure that you tear up agreements that are holding you back. And a lot of us have those agreements, and those agreements come in the form of excuses. And so the next topic I want to talk about, Bobby, is attitude determines your magnitude. And there's only one thing that creates a powerful attitude. There's only one thing that creates a positive attitude, and that is when you put positive content into your mind and you accept it as self-evident, and you live it, breathe it, and repeat it. And I'll tell you a funny story, Bobby. I've never seen a scary movie. I've never watched Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I never watched that Grantville Amity movie, or whatever it was, the one that's
Amityville Horror.
Yeah, Amityville Horror. That was it. I don't even think I ever went to Rocky Horror's Picture Show, and if I did, I was out in the parking lot drinking with my friends when I was a teenager. But I never have watched a scary movie, and I don't listen to foul music with cuss words in it. I was laughing the other day. We were waiting for our ticket. We were coming back from St. Thomas, and my wife and I were sitting by the Spirit customer service. Oh my God, you want to hear the most violent people on earth? Go to a Spirit customer service center. And I mean, these people who sit there, their customer service agents are absolute saints. I mean, this guy cracked me up. He would look at the people and goes, and don't forget how much you paid for that ticket, with a smile on his face, because it was like, well, we had a cancellation. What are you going to do? You could have taken Delta, and they had 4 more flights out tonight, but no, you took Spirit, and this is the only flight we had out tonight. But it was so funny to hear this guy, and I'm sitting there going, that dude is one of the most positive people on earth, because I sat there and listened to 50 people, 50 complainers that were all victims, it was never their fault. And I listened to these people, and I said, this is either a lesson for me, I'm polluting my mind, or I'm loving listening to this guy deal with all these people. But that dude had attitude with magnitude. And there's only one way he could have done it, and that's by having the proper input going in. But I started this broadcast off with a Rocky theme song. And I can tell you that if you ever want to get pumped up, listen to Rocky's theme song. You know, go find Journey or whatever gets you rocking, or whatever will make you dance in your underwear, man. Play that song and get jacked up. And the other thing, of course, is the food that you put in your body, the sites that you allow. I actually block people on Facebook that put up just horrible images. I mean, I'll be going down my timeline and just see something that's just god awful, and I'm like, boom, I mean, it's not that I want to ignore that it exists, but it's just like, you know, I don't want to see that live and in public. So I'm very protective, Bobby, about what goes in my eyes, my ears, my mouth, my nose, my senses. I'm, you know, a lot of people think it's crazy that I don't watch TV. I mean, I'm sure I've watched The Simpsons once or twice in my life, and it's a funny show. I mean, the guy's brilliant. I guess the guy who created it. But, you know, like Married with Children, which Al Bundy's a funny dude, but I'm just not going to saturate my mind with that content. And I love humor, and I love going to comedy shows and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, that stuff probably represents about 1 or 2% of actually what I allow to go into my mind. And the other 98%, I'm very focused on what goes in my mind. I don't watch the news. I'm definitely not a fan of the news. And I just think that you got to be very careful, folks. I think people go around unconsciously, Bobby, and they allow this crap to come into their mind, and they listen to talk radio that's just senseless.
Worthless.
So to take off on attitude determines your magnitude, and then I'll close out with the icon on it.
You know what, folks? I think this is probably one of the most important parts of the miracle equation. And I always remember good in, good in, good in, good in, good out. Bad in, bad in, bad in, bad out. And for years, for many, many years, I've always been conscious of words and how important words are. I did a YouTube video, Tommy, many years ago, right? And the YouTube video was on the 4 most toxic words. And the only one that I'm remembering right now, I mean, I can think about them, is try. When you listen to people and how they use these words, try, can't, this, that, and how they're programming their brains, literally how they're programming their brains. You know, the other thing too, and I mentioned it this morning on the broadcast that I did, I live, you know, don't call me from 6:30 in the morning till about 8:30 in the morning. I am in my miracle morning, and my miracle morning is very special for me. And that acronym that I use is SAVERS: meditate, silence, A, affirmations, V, visualize, E, exercise, R, read, and S, scribe in my journal. So when I'm ready to go, I'm ready to go. I'm tuned up. I went in for a tune-up, and I'm ready. And, you know, this is such an important topic because here's, you know, everybody, here's what I'd like you to do. For the next 24 hours, pay close attention to the words that come out of your mouth, but also pay close attention to the people around you, the words that they use. One of the great books that I read years ago was The Power of the Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. And then also What You Say When You Talk to Yourself by Shad Helmstetter, another great book. But the words that you use during the course of the day, I will tell you, will probably determine your life. Will determine your. I'm just very conscious of this topic, extremely conscious, and I'm hard on myself. I am hard on myself. And everyone, I want you to be hard on yourself. Just listen to the words. And, you know, as Tommy mentioned earlier, you know, you've got two types of questions. You've got empowering questions and you've got disempowering questions. And the questions that you ask yourself will determine your answers, good or bad. Good or bad. Tony said that years ago. Years ago. Ask yourself a better question. Ask yourself a better question. So I love this is a big part of the equation here.
I think also, you can. It's amazing what a quote will do for you. I remember when I heard that one quote that said that many of the challenges that we face in life many of the challenges we face in life will. I remembered earlier. Many of the challenges we face in life cannot. I'm at a loss here. I've got so much on my mind for what we got to talk about, but. I know that we go back to the definition of insanity. It was very similar to insanity. It's just people continue to do the same things. It's like you tell them, oh, don't watch the news. Or instead of watching an hour of the news a night, go watch an hour's worth of TED videos. Instead of watching the news, go listen to an hour worth of empowering music. There's just you all are in control of what comes into your mind. And I think all of you need to be, and that'll lead us into the next topic when I'm done talking about the icon, but I think you got one more thought, Bobby.
Yeah, you saw that, right? It's like when you listen to the words that come out of our mouths, people will sometimes say to their children, oh, go clean up your room, it's a pigsty. Guess what it will always be? It will always be a pigsty. I'm very, these are the words. When we were raising our children, I did my damnedest to always say to our children, I never wanted to say, I'm proud of you. I always wanted to say, be proud of yourself. Because when you say, I'm proud of you, for the most part, they'll always look for acceptance from other people.
It's strong.
So this is a big talk, but I got a lot of good stuff for the next one too.
Well, let's talk about the memory icon real quick for attitude determines. The attitude determines your magnitude. Is obviously there's two throttles to a boat. There's the gear shift, and of course there is the gas throttle. And I just have a question. Have you slammed that gas throttle down so hard that your knuckles hurt? Are you full steam? Are you full RPM? Are you maxing out your engine? Are you at full horsepower right now? That's one thing that I look at everybody, and it's like, well, no, Tom, I got kids, I got this. And all of a sudden they start throwing out their excuses, and it's like pouring water in the gas tank. And I don't know if you've ever had water in your gas tank in a boat, but it's a bad thing, especially if you're out at sea. But yeah.
Kudos, Tom. Kudos to Anthony. Anthony, you just mentioned something which is very key, which is very important, and I used during the course of the day. If something negative comes in, cancel. And I'll never forget when I was with New Skin in 89, 90, 91, and 92, a woman, very successful woman, Martha Lowry, she would always use the phrase, cancel. Good. Thanks for reminding me about that, Anthony. Thank you.
Yeah. So attitude determines your magnitude. Of course, we've got the gas throttle of your boat or whatever your sailboat, whatever it is. But you got to make sure, folks, that you got your handle down on that thing. You got your hand on it. And, I'm sure there are times to let it up occasionally when you need to recharge your batteries and stuff. But have a firm grip on the gas pedal of your life. Don't let anybody else control that gas throttle. I think it's very important that you are in full control of that. And that leads me on to the next topic. And the next topic is, bringing your shoving the food under the door. I've had that done before.
I got holes.
Yeah.
Gerald's bringing me water. I'm out of water. Okay, Gerald, we got 3 more to go.
What you need is some Herradura silver, maybe tequila to cure that throat. But anyway, you know, it's amazing to see, you know, when you look at people and what they eat, and of course, there's so many toxins and things we can put in our body and just how we react to it. And I just tell everybody, just be very conscious about what you allow to go into your body. And that leads us into our next topic, which is we want you to create consciously. There's a lot of sleepwalkers in life. There's a lot of people that go around and let life happen to them. I do life, okay? I don't let life happen to me. I do life. And I want all of you to think about doing life rather than just letting life happen to you. But when we talk about creating consciously, we start mapping out our goals. You know, we start thinking about the things that will make our dreams come true. And as a conscious creator, it's kind of like, what can I consciously create, Bobby? What ultimately is my purpose to go create? Do I want to work for Habitat for Humanity? Do I want to go work down at the food kitchen? Do I want to consciously create smiles on people's faces? Do I consciously want to give back? Do I consciously want to help people? Conscious creation is such a powerful thing. And I just think that so many people are caught up in life trying to make a living that they don't have time to invest in creating consciously. And they make excuses as to why they can't be a conscious creator. You have the power of creation in you. You have the power of God in you. Go use it and create something great. Yet, I think when people look at that, they go, well, I only want to create mediocre stuff. I want to do things mediocre. I don't want to go that big. And I don't know, it's maybe because my mom told me I can't, or my dad told me I can't, or I got beat in the track meet in 3rd grade, and that ruined my entire life. You know, or I dropped the pass at the last football game and we didn't go to the state championship, and I'm known for that. You know, or I got a bad grade and the teacher embarrassed me in 7th grade, and that has affected me all my life. You know, I don't know what contracts you've signed with mediocrity, but it's time to unsign those contracts. If you've got contracts with mediocre, signed by mediocre on the bottom of them, it's time for all of you to rip those up. Because there's no reason why, if you read every day, 15 minutes every day, if you get mentored, you can get to a point faster than Bobby and I have done it. You can collapse time frames leveraging, you know, what you're doing. I mean, we're sitting here, you know, coaching you on 20, 30 years plus of experience that we've been involved in, and some of you are just coming into the space for the first time in your life. We can collapse that time frame and probably have you up to speed in less than 3 to 5 years. The question is, are you willing to make that 3 to 5 year commitment to change your life forever? Or do you just want to spend the next 25 years being mediocre and living a painful life? And I'll say this about creating consciously. Creating consciously means you take full control of your life. And the memory icon on this one was easy, but I think you know, when I went through my existential experience and went through the vacuum of my life to realize what was important in my life, I was an unconscious creator. I went around creating stuff, but I was creating it unconsciously. And you know, I created some great stuff and I created some bad stuff. I probably created the cancer in my life, but you know what? I consciously got rid of it when I looked in my daughter's eyes after she was born. I said, cancer, I'm going to whoop your ass. You don't stand a chance against me. And so I think as we engage our mind and we become conscious creators, folks, there's nothing we can't do. Now, it's going to take a little bit of time. It's going to take failure. It's going to take running into a couple walls. But if you consciously go, ow, that wall hurt, that didn't work, and you say, I need to ask another question that will get me another direction, and you're conscious about it, you're going to be great. But I was coming up with that quote: many of the challenges we face in life cannot be changed with the same thinking that created them. I knew it was going to come to my mind. I hit a wall earlier and I just bounced off it, Bobby. But that's great. But what are your thoughts on conscious creation? And I don't want to call it a God complex or anything like that, but I'm talking about embracing the power that you have in you, Bobby, to go I mean, there are some people that go build skyscrapers. There are some people that go build Hoover dams. There are some people that have designed robotics and 3D printing. They have consciously created that stuff. You know why? It's because they asked questions that didn't have limits on them. They ask questions that don't have limits. And there's a real conscious creation element in doing that and saying, why can't Beverly Washington be a billionaire? Why can't she? You know, there's nothing holding her back from becoming a billionaire. She could leverage into the right investments, raise the right amount of capital, build an organization that creates 80 to 100,000 a week for her. She rolls that all into digital currency, invest in 3 or 4 companies that go up 4,000x. Next thing you know, she's a billionaire. Why can't she do it? And I just tell people it's there's a great quote, Bobby, and you may need to help me with it, but some people look at things and say why, and I look at things and say why not? Yeah, why not? I mean, why not? Why can't you be successful? And I think that's so important. But Bobby, jump off on conscious creation. Let me know your thoughts.
This is everyone. This is an interesting part of our talk tonight. There are many of you right now that are listening that are saying to yourselves, I'm not creative. I'm not creative. And when Tom uses the word creative, it doesn't mean artistry. It doesn't mean anything like that. That's number one. I think the challenge that most people have, Tom, is this. They don't know what their unique ability is. We all have a unique ability. We love, the 106 of us right now, love watching unique ability. We like watching it on Sunday. It's called football. We like going to concerts. We look at this and we look at that. We watch unique ability. Everybody here tonight, everybody has a unique ability. The challenge is, for the most part, people don't know what their unique ability is. 80% of the people that go to college never wind up doing in life what they went to college for. I'm one. I'm one of them. Because they don't know what their unique ability is, and then they succumb to going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. In 1996, someone suggested that I go to this particular site and take a particular, it's not really a test, it's not personality, but it's about unique ability. And I'll share it with you in a second. And when I did that, and my coach, he looked at my results and he says, you can do anything you want. You can give heart surgery if you want. You can be creative. But what was interesting is when Tom, after I read Ray Kroc's book, Grinding It Out, and by the way, the movie is coming out in a few weeks, The Founder, with Michael Keaton. After I read that book, I said, I'm franchising my company. And I did. We sold franchises and blah, blah, blah. But it took me a while to do it because I wasn't using my unique ability to be creative in a way. Until I understood that, then I just went like this. I packaged up the intellectual property, blah, 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 and we went. And that site, I believe what I'm about to share with you right now, that every high school student in the world needs to do this, because the school system lets the kids go out into the world without knowing their unique ability, and they set them up for the wrong thing. But if they knew what their unique ability, when you work within your unique ability to be creative in your space, guess what we live? We live a happy life. We live a happy life. So you can go to kolbe.com. And if someone wants to put that in the chat, kolbe.com. It's not a test. Catherine Colby is brilliant, is absolutely brilliant. And I'm not going to go into the semantics about it, but everybody has a level of creativity to be consciously creative here. Tom, you know what I love to do? I get a charge out of creating something from nothing. When I wrote my book, I took it. It was, as soon as I took this pencil, and I put it to paper and I went, that was fascinating for me. And then, you know, and all those things we all have that ability to be creative in our own way, but sometimes we don't know what our unique ability is. But if you could find out your unique ability, I just gave you a way to do that, people live a happy life. It's just fabulous. But creating something from nothing, I have big plans right after I get back, big plans. And so that's, I hope that helps. That's a big part of this.
That's a great point that you just made, creating something from nothing. And I think it's very important for y'all to understand that your words, I mean, your thoughts or your ideas are your paintbrushes, and your words are the colors of your paint. And you have to pick up a paintbrush, and I forgot what the painter's name was, but the way he became very great is he woke up every day and he made one painting. He did one painting and he practiced his skills every day. And I can't remember who it was, but it was in a recent video that I watched. But it made sense to me that every day he got up and he painted a painting. And that's like me getting up every day and reading a chapter of a book or watching a video. It's like, what are you going to do, Maggie? What are you going to wake up every day and change your life? Who's going to get up every day and get on a treadmill for 15 minutes? Who's going to get up every day and do something, better to improve their health? What are you going to do to improve the quality of food that you're putting into your body? Maybe the idea of growing your own herb garden or doing something where you can say, because there's no excuses, folks. You can always take steps towards creating consciously. You don't need money to create consciously. I think about Michael, the builder that we have on here, and what he's done to build his business and the ideas and the visions that he has come out of his mind. Because I watched a single builder build my parents' house. A single guy with a helper built my parents' house, 4,000 square foot house. I mean, and I'm talking a beautiful place, but he custom built every single door, every single window frame. He built everything from scratch. And it was just amazing to watch the process, how one person would have that vision to be able to do all of that. And so as we are builders in life, we are also painters in life. And I want you to think about the picture you're painting for your life. I think Jack Palace's story is such an awesome story of the picture that he painted for his life, and now how he's just kind of taken some whitewash over it and whitewashed over it and said, nope, it's time to paint a new picture for my life. And Jack has gained new skills. He and Penny are a dynamic duo, and they're cranking in this business. And I just think that's fantastic. So as we look at the memory icon of conscious creation, if you've ever sat on the back of a sailboat, you know what a tiller is, right?
Oh, yeah.
So we think about the rudder. If you're controlling the rudder or the tiller, you're controlling the direction of your boat. And if you've ever tried to sail a sailboat without holding on to the helm or holding on to the tiller, you will find that a sailboat will go many, many different directions. In fact, it will go every direction of the wind is going, and it'll push a sailboat sideways if you don't properly hold the tiller. And so I think it's very important that all of you realize that you have to keep your hands on your tiller. Don't let anybody else steer your ship, okay? So let's kind of recap. We got a map. We've got a compass, okay? We've got a gear shift. We're putting this thing into forward. We've got a gas throttle. We're doing a little bit of motoring, and we've got our hand on the tiller. And so I look at that, and I think those are some pretty amazing memory icons for all of you to think about in this training. So let's move into a topic that helped me put 12,000 people into a business in 90 days, and that was the letter L, which is leverage, time, technology, and talent. And this is such a powerful thing because leverage is a two-edged sword. You got to make sure you know when you're using leverage and how you're using it and when to pull back on it. Leverage can be dangerous too, so you got to be very careful with leverage. But the best way to learn leverage, it's kind of like I had people, they say, Tom, how do you post 24 hours a day on social networking? How do you post on Facebook 24 hours a day? Don't you ever sleep? It makes me laugh. So I say, well, I leverage technology, and I allow a Postcron or Hootsuite to do my posting while I sleep. because I've learned that there are 2,221 hours in the night that I sleep throughout the year that I could be actually marketing. 2,200 hours. Bobby, could you use an extra 2,200 hours of marketing in your life?
That's leverage, baby.
That's leverage. And so when we talk about leveraging time, technology, and talent, that's leveraging time. I'm leveraging the talent of the guy who created the software program, and I'm leveraging the power of the software program. But I think all of you need to think about, how can I create more leverage in my life? How can I do more? Some of you have, how many of y'all have $50 a month to invest in your business? 50 bucks a month. Can you sell something? You know, can you go get a part-time job? Well, you know, with $50 a month, you could hire a virtual assistant who actually will do 25 to 50 private messages for you every day without you having to do anything. They could make 25 to 50 comments on your Facebook page. It may sound crazy to you, but I have a VA that runs, sometimes you all get responses from my VA and you think it's actually me, you know? And I have somebody that runs my Facebook page, somebody that I've worked with for 2 years, and I have taught them, and I pay about $150 a month for not a full-time person, but she works a solid 10 hours a week for me. $150 a month. And all I can tell you is the $1,800 I pay her a year has come back to me times 20, times 30 of the leads that she's generated for me of people that are interested in digital currency. And so I want you to think about leverage for a minute, and how can you leverage other. Okay, so here's a great way of leveraging things. You know, meet with one of your good friends about digital currency and do a who do you know approach, and leverage the relationship that you have with that person. And when they give you a name and they say, I meet with Bobby Sagar for lunch, and Bobby says, you know, Beverly Washington, she's quite the online marketer. She's doing some big things. She's got some really good contacts. You ought to chat with her about this. I think she'd be interested. And so next thing you know, I call up Beverly and say, hey, Bobby Sagar, you know, credible person, had a successful franchise business, sold his franchises. You know, he's asked me, he told me that you're the type of person to be interested in looking at what I'm doing with digital currency. Do you have a moment? Well, I just leveraged a relationship with Bobby. You know, and so I think it's very, very important that all of you consider leveraging time, technology, and talent to grow your businesses. Some of you are trying to do it all by yourself, and it's a big mistake, because there's not enough hours in the day for you to sit in front of Facebook that much to post as much as I do, and it won't work. And so, Bobby, I think leveraging, you're talking about franchising, that's leverage. That's when you're using other people's money to grow your business and expand your brand, and you're selling your products through those franchises. That's what I call the ultimate leverage, is franchising.
Yeah, it was more than $150 a month.
Yeah.
You know, Tom, this the one above, create consciously, flows into the leverage time and technology. This is one of the commitments and plans that I've made for the following year. I'm going to challenge everybody, all 104 of us, and that is to make at least, or post one piece of content a day. Post one piece of content a day. But here's where your unique ability comes in too. Beverly might want to do an audio clip. Katie might want to do a video, or whatever the case may be. I love doing videos. I enjoy that. I'm good at it. It's one of my unique abilities. So I aim to leverage technology a lot more in the upcoming year. And, you know, we have that ability to do that. You know, I use a lot of different things for ads and so on and so forth, and I'm doing other things. We have other plans coming and in the works right now as well. But I'm all about that leverage word. You know, as much as I could use leverage, I'll use it.
You know, I have a guy that he leverages me, Bobby. He basically takes all of my posts and he cut and pastes it, he puts them on his page. And I don't mind that. I tell anybody, if you like a post of mine, you can take it. I mean, you know, we're all in this together because we're all growing each other's coin. But I think it's very important for all of you to understand that we have a great opportunity here to, you know, to grow each other's businesses. And if you see a post that gets a lot of likes on my page, dang, you ought to steal it and put it on your page because maybe it'll help you find that next Juha Periella, you know, or that Bobby Sagar. I'm interested in growing our business, so I would encourage you to do that. So leveraging time, technology, and talent is so important. And I tell you, it's just been, you know, it's really been the key to the success that I've had in business. And ultimately, Bobby, you know, the leverage is like in sailing, there's different ways to capture the wind in the sails and leverage the wind to take you in a certain direction. There's also leverage in an engine. You know, a lot of you don't realize how an engine works. I've rebuilt one, so I understand an engine, and the amount of leverage alone that's in the camshaft is unbelievable, and the crankshaft and what it does to actually make an engine work. But and also you can get your crew. You know, your crew can help, you know, row the boat if you want to. But, you know, so the icon of leverage, time, technology, and talent is the engines, the sail, and the crew. And I want you to think about that. For you to become successful, leverage is a very, very important point. I don't think you'll ever become hugely successful without leverage. In fact, I'll pretty much be adamant about that and say that unless you were just to hit the lottery, I don't think creating massive success without leverage is possible. And that leads us into our last element, or our last tactic of this success strategy, and that is envision it and own your world. And that came out of, Own Your World came out of the training that I did in the business plan class, or the Miracle of Success class that I did in the prison. And I remember asking a question, the car dealer guy that I told you about. I said, what's the difference between owning your world and leasing your world? And he stood up and he said, sir, it is owning your world means it's somebody else's, or owning your world means it's yours, and leasing your world means it's somebody else's. And I thought about it when he said that, and I said that was probably the most brilliant answer I probably could have ever found, you know, for the book. But so many people right now are leasing their world. They're leasing their cars, they're leasing their houses, they're leasing their mind to an employer. They're leasing their future income to the banks because they have credit card debt. I don't know. I mean, when you think about being a leaser, it's not good, folks. And you say, well, I do it for tax advantages. Bull. You do it because you can't pay cash for it. You know, that's my dad. Was always my dad's thing. I remember I leased my first car. He looked at me and he said, that's because you couldn't pay cash for it. And I was like, damn, he got me on that one. But yeah, I thought that was a great comment. But he always paid cash for everything, and boy, if you ever financed anything, you heard about it from him. But you know, it was envision your world, stop leasing your world, own it means it's yours, lease it means it's someone else's. And I got to tell you, there was a time in my life. I think I've always set out to own my world, but maybe I was performing actions where I was leasing my world, and maybe it was some of the decisions that I made that got me in trouble, is I leased some of my future decisions to the things that were wrong. And leasing your world, folks, will lead you down a very dark road, and it will lead you to a very bleak environment, a bleak retirement where you don't own anything. And at the end of the day, I think our system is really designed that way. I mean, they come out with these cheap car leases to lure you in so you can drive a nicer car for less money, but you don't read the fine print. You don't realize it's 20 cents on every mile over 12,000, and you forgot you drive 28,000 miles a year, you know, and next thing you know, you're upside down in the car, and then they finance you more upside down into another car, and you just keep selling your soul for the purpose of driving a nicer car. And I just tell everybody, I mean, man, I drive a Denali, a 2007 Denali. It's got 200,000 miles on it. And guess what I got? I got the title. You know, I have no car payments. I'd rather go spend a couple $1,000, you know, replacing stuff on the thing than go buy a brand new $60,000 Denali. You know, it just doesn't make any sense to me, because the average person's going to go out and lease one. And I laugh because I'm still driving mine around. It drives perfect. It looks beautiful. And we've taken real good care of it. But all of our cars are paid for, and I got no car payments. So I'm a big believer, folks, that if you want to live a life, a free life, I mean, like totally free, you need to stop leasing every element of your life. What area? There's a good question for you. what areas of your life are you leasing? And I want you to write those down, and I want you to go on a mission and use these 7 success tactics to figure out how you can get out from leasing your life.
Tom, I want to share a little story that some of you might have heard. And it was about a year ago that I met this young real estate agent. And I asked him, and I think his name was Steve, and I said, Steve, make believe when you go home tonight, your wife says to you, honey, I want you to retire. And your response to her, what would it be? And then he says, well, I need about $20,000 a month to come into my life in order to retire. I said, okay, Steve, in order for you to have $20,000 a month to come in, that means you would have to have saved, plan on saving, or have already saved a certain amount of money in some sort of financial modality, stock account, bond account, rental real estate income, whatever it is. I said, what's that number? And then he looked at me with glazed eyes. And I said, let me help you. I said, that number is about $6 million. At today's interest rate of 4%, we can get that in different financial instruments. Interest rates go up a little less, interest rates go down a little more. I said, how are you doing? And I said, how many people in their lifetime have saved $6 million? 1 out of 100. 1 out of 100. And I said, there's 2 reasons why most people don't develop any financial significance in their lives. 2. 1, they're in a trading time for money dilemma. They don't have the leverage, Tom. They don't have the leverage. They're going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And the last thing, which goes into what Tom just brought up, is that we have to look at ourselves in the mirror in the morning and say, good morning, boss. Our children growing up were never told, go to school, go to college, come out and get a good job. They were never told that. I'm very contrarian like that. They were told, go to school, you want to go to college, fine, but eventually you work for yourself. You build your own business. You don't make another woman or another man rich. We live in America. There are people coming from other parts of the world to this country because our streets are lined with gold. We need to work for ourselves, whether it's part-time, whether it's full-time. And this is the best business to be in to get all your tax advantages part-time. So I've been in my own business since I'm 22 years of age. Long time.
About 10 years ago.
Thanks.
So our memory icon for Envision It, you got to see it first in your mind, folks. And I'll tell you, I told somebody the other on a training a while back, I said, when we charter our sailboat, the one that I specifically want, when I step foot onto that sailboat, I'm going to smell the leather. I'm going to feel the smoothness of the fiberglass. I'm going to sit in that chair at the helm, and I'm going to hold on to that steering wheel and close my eyes and envision myself pulling into Indonesia and all just the great places that I've researched around the world that I want to sail to, and all the islands that I want my wife to see. And I'm going to just close my eyes and I'm going to envision it. And as we're sailing, I'm going to hear the wind go through the sail, and I'm going to hear the spinning and the zing of the lure, the fishing rod on the back as that pin reel starts screaming with a tuna on it. So we're going to have fresh sashimi and right out of the water. And it's just kind of like I'm going to hear my kids giggling and bouncing off the trampoline into the front of the boat, and just all the things. I'm going to just smell every smell and embrace that moment of that $30,000 1-week trip, where I go out and know that I will own that experience, and my brain will set out on a mission to acquire the $2.4 million it's going to cost to buy the boat that I want and to be able to sail around the world and do this.
Folks, Tom, I got to interrupt. Just a second. I'm sorry. Folks, did you hear the way Tom imparted that vision? I mean, just listen to that, how he imparted the vision, the smell, the zipping of the line as he's pulling in the jib or the spinnaker or whatever it is, the leather. That's the deal right there. That's the deal. That was so great. I want to be there with you.
And you know what? That boat is like a, it'll be a memory icon for me when I go through it, and it'll be, $30,000 that I'll not only spend for a family vacation, but it'll be an anchor in me that will help me understand what it's going to take to make it happen and increase the intensity of my desire to want to do it, and, give me the boat that I know that will be safe for my family and comfortable and provide the opportunity to be able to realize the dream that I want to dream. So all of you, when you think about your dreams, whether it's a brand new car that you're going to pay what? Cash for, okay? Go drive that car. It may not be a 2016. It might be a 2012. In fact, I would recommend that's probably a smarter deal. Go drive that 2012 and then stretch yourself a little bit more as you make more money and can buy that car out of the gains from your principal, not your principal. It's important that all of you envision how you're going to acquire the material things that you want in life, but do it wisely. I made a suggestion to everybody before the holidays. Second guess buying that big screen TV. Maybe go buy a Bitcoin instead. That Bitcoin might turn into $1 million. That TV ain't going to turn into $1 million. I can guarantee you. I can guarantee you that right now. It's going to turn into I bought a 60-inch from somebody off of Facebook for $150. Okay, I'm like a bargain hunter, dude. I love going to junk stores and flea markets and pawn shops. I don't buy anything brand new, but it's probably why we've done well is because I haven't paid retail for anything. I don't believe in it. Bobby, you believe in retail?
I live in New York.
Yeah, your retail capital of the world. But anyway, killed him on that one. So let me, I don't know. I mean, we could take some questions if you all want to pop some questions in. But, the memory icon for Envision It and Own Your World, guess what it is? It's a telescope. Envision yourself on the front of that boat with that, pull it out and envision it and look into the future. Folks, you've got to see your future before you can create it. You have got to envision your future. If you make a friend and you see they have a beautiful house, say, could I come walk through your house because I want to have a house like this one day? Or if you see a friend that's got your dream car, say, would you mind taking me out for a drive someday? I don't even need to drive the car, but if you'll let me, I'd love to. But even if I can just sit in it and drive with it, I'd love to do that. Or, envisioning walking into the bank knowing that you've got 7 figures in your account. Walk in there one day and just fill out a deposit slip for 7 figures and pretend you're going to go make a deposit and then walk out of the bank. So that's what it's going to feel like. Yeah.
I'm looking at 6 old vision boards over the last 10 years, 20 years maybe. And I look back at them every now and then and see the things that have come into my life. When I first started doing a vision board, myself and Geraldine, in our early 20s, we got addicted to the Hamptons out in Long Island, and, we were renting homes and everything. And I'll never forget when I went into the insurance and financial world, and, she left in 1992, a very high-paying job from the city, and I'm in a business that I only eat what I kill, and I said, let's go to this house. I want to buy this house. And I snuck on the guy's property, right? It was on the bay in Southampton. So she took a picture. I put it on the vision board. I said, okay, let's go to the Porsche dealership. Take a picture of me in it. I put it on the vision board and so on. And we didn't get that house, but we got a house up the beach on the bay, and we still own it out in Southampton. And then I bought an old 1958 Porsche Speedster that was on my vision board, and that's one of the things that I look at every day. My new vision board, you just hit the nail on the head. You've got to see it before you believe it.
You see who that guy is right there? See him? What are you sitting in, a Ferrari right there?
Who is that guy? Who is that guy?
Dreaming. Love it. Love it. That's awesome. But very, very cool. Bobby, I want to thank you for your time. And I just, tell everybody that our goals. And if you got any parting comments, Bobby, I'll bring you up just at the end. But you know, we can create miracles in our life. Every single one of you can, and it begins with that ultimate decision inside that you are a miracle creator. Okay, you say, I am a miracle. I can create miracles. Write that statement down on a card, and I want you all to read that to yourself for the next 66 days, because it takes 66 days to internalize something. You all have heard 21 days. Nuh-uh. It's 66 days. Okay, that's proven by science. But every day I want you to wake up, and I don't care if it's a recording. You all know what I listen to. You know my alarm clock is? It drives my kids crazy. But it's a beautiful day by YouTube. I wake up to that every day, and you know why? Because when I got out of lockup after 18 months of 24-hour or 23-1 lockdown, when I walked across that yard and had bought my first Walkman, you know, the first song I heard was It's a Beautiful Day, and I cried my eyes out. And my kids, I don't think they know that was the very first song I'd heard after 18 months of fighting, to hear that song. And I listened to it every day. And I laughed because I think I was in Europe, or I think I was in St. Thomas, and I needed a reminder. So now it goes off on my phone every day at like 5:28 as well. They're like, why does it go off at 5:28? I go, who cares? It's going to be a beautiful day, you know? And I love it. But it's such a great song, and U2 has got probably some of the most inspiring lyrics of any band in the world. And
my favorite band.
Yeah.
He never gets old.
He's an enlightened dude. I mean, when music gives you the chills, I just say when anything gives you the chills, folks, and this is just a bonus, if anything ever gives you the chills, understand there's enlightenment somewhere in the area. Okay, there's something around you that's ready to change your life, and I'm a big believer in that. But we want you to create miracles in 2017. Thursday night, I'm going to do a goal setting session. And I'm going to see if I can talk with Ed Hartley and see if Ed Hartley will join me on Thursday night if he's not traveling. But we're going to do a goal-setting section that's based off of a book that I read. It was really a great book, but it broke down. I want you all to think about 10 goals that you want to create in 2017. Just material goals. Goals are quantitative. They're numbers. They've got numbers attached. They are material things. They are wealth things, their amount of money, their amount of freedom. It could be you want to be a full-time entrepreneur. I want to buy a new car. I want to buy 50 Bitcoins. I want to own 100,000 OneCoins. You know, I want to have 20 extra hours per week. The goals are quantitative, and they have numbers attached to them. And so, you know, and even if it's you want to help dig water wells. Well, how many of them do you want to dig? You know, so how many houses at Habitat for Humanity are you going to help build, or whatever it is? But I want you all to, between now and Thursday night, I want you to think of 10 things that, I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to give you a guarantee that you will be able to reach all of them. And if I could guarantee you that, I want you to write down those 10 things. Okay? Obviously, I can't guarantee you, but I'm guaranteeing that whatever you write down, those 10 things will come true in 2017. And I want you to think about what those things are that you really want, not the things that you need. I want to know the things you really want. And we're going to walk through an exercise on Thursday night that's going to break that down into tasks from a dream statement. We're going to create a dream statement off of that. We're going to create a task list off of that. But Stephen Scott wrote a really, really great book where he broke down how to goal set. And then I'm also going to talk to you about what Bobby talked about, was creating vision boards, these dream boards. I saw somebody that said they wanted a sailboat as well, but I want you to go buy some sailing magazines. You know, I'd like you to go buy one or two of them. They're not cheap, but go buy one so you can at least cut some pictures out and put it on your dream board. But definitely think about creating a dream board where you create a collage of the things that you would like to have in 2017. If it's a happy family, cut out a picture of a happy family, you know, because all of these things. And then we're going to prepare you to laminate those goals and hang them in your shower. Okay? So I want you to think about whatever we do, there's going to be three probably three 8.5 by 11 pieces of paper. You can do 11 by 17 for your dream board. You can laminate that and put it in your shower. You can literally hang your goals on your shower caddy in your shower, and I'm assuming that all of you shower every day, okay? And that means if you shower every day, guess what's going to be sitting in front of you? You know the reason most people don't read their goals out loud is because they're afraid of what their family thinks of them as they read them out loud. They're afraid their wife is going to sit there and sneer at them, or their spouse. You know, they're afraid their friends will hear them saying them out loud. But guess what? Very few of those people are in the bathroom with you. And when you go to read your goals, you can sit there in the shower with that nice hot water pouring over your body where you feel good and you're relaxed and where you have a chance to internalize your goals, and that can become your dream realization theater, okay? Some of you sing in the shower. I don't do that, okay? I read my goals in the shower, and that creates magical music in my life and has created just an incredible amount of wealth for me. And folks, creating miracles is where it's all at. And I can tell you that you have no excuses in your life at all. Every single one of you can create miracles. And if you don't believe it, you're wrong, and that's your fault, and you need to tear up that contract. And I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to Bobby and I tonight. Bobby, I'll let you leave some closing thoughts on it. But it's just so incredible to be friends with all of you and have the opportunity to mentor with you and train from you. Bobby, I got some great wisdom from you tonight. Thank you for joining me on the training. It's been a real pleasure working with you. Bobby and I don't work in the same lines, but we both work for the same value of the coin. So Bobby, it's great.
You're special, my friend. You really are. You're special, and you're one of the best things that happened to me in 2016, and I mean that from my heart. And folks, I'll leave you with this. And this is something that I learned from Jim many years ago. There's the wind that blows, since you brought it up, Tom. There's the wind that blows. And, you know, the wind that blows is, well, you know, well, I didn't want that guy to go into office, or it's raining out, or I don't like my in-laws, or whatever it is. The economy is this, that's the wind that blows. But we need to make sure that we adjust the set of our sails correctly.
Yeah.
And the set of our sails is your attitude. I'm going, baby. Our attitudes, how we process information, how we treat other human beings, and everything that Tom and I talked about tonight. It's about the set of our sails and our philosophy. I love you, Tommy. Take care, everyone.
You too, man.
Peace.
Thank you very much. Thanks for being online. And so, folks, we got our map. We got our compass. Hopefully, you're in forward now. You've got your gas pedal down, okay? You got control of your rudder, okay? You know you got your engines. You got your sails. Like Bobby just said, you got your wind. You're ready to leverage time, technology, and talent. But most importantly, you see where you're going with your telescope. So take all of those memory icons that we've created for you tonight and use them to go create miracles in your life, but also use them to create miracles in other people's lives. And I want to thank you for being online tonight. We'll be back Thursday with a full-blown webinar at 1 p.m. Eastern time. So that'll be the last one of 2016. So let's blow it up and have a huge crowd on there so we can have an awesome new year. I want to commend those who stuck with their business through December. There's a lot of people who give up and go focus on spending all of their money. A lot of you focused on creating wealth, so I want to congratulate you on that. And then Thursday night at 10 p.m. Eastern time, we will have a goal-setting session that will help you. And I want to emphasize that everybody that's on that session, I want you to have your goals set by January 1st. And I heard Bobby say that he readjusts and tweaks his throughout the year, and I think that's a great idea. But I want you to have 10 core goals in place of 10 things. I've guaranteed you're going to get them. Just tell me what they are, write them down, and let's see if we can manifest them together as a team and draft off each other. So good night, everyone. Thanks for being online. This is recorded. It will be up on the YouTube channel hopefully by the morning if it processes tonight. My internet doesn't quit on me. But I love every single one of you. I wish the best for you. I can't do success for you, but I can surely help show you the way and shine the light on it. And you just need to pursue it with vigor and be excited about what you're doing in life, and anything's possible. Have a great night, everyone.
All right, Carl. Thank you, Doc. This was awesome.
Way to go, Colonel. Thank you. You guys are awesome.
Off the hook.